Kenso here. This is my Dark Souls 3 Soul Level 1 guided walkthrough. And if you see here at the character creation screen, I'm going to be picking the Black Firebomb as my starting gift and dropping into the Cemetery of Ash. So just a couple of things up front about the guide. This was recorded in one sitting. I only took some minor edits to cut out transitions and things of that nature, just to streamline it and make it a little easier for people to find placement in the guide if they're looking for a particular sequence. So another thing about the guide you're going to notice here is that I'm going to be skipping most of the regular enemies. And if you have any experience with Soul Level 1, one of the things that you're going to know immediately is that all of the enemies hit like absolute freight trains, and they will completely shave your life bar off in 1 to 2 hits. So you do have to be fairly consistent throughout the guide, but you don't really have to be perfect. There's a lot of sequences where you can survive. Sequences that you would think might be fatal, but this game's actually pretty forgiving in that sense. So just moving past these guys, I picked up those fire bombs down there so that I can trade those with the crows after killing Gundyr here, and we're going to be meeting up with that boss right now. So my strategy against Gundyr here, I'm going to buff with the weapon art and pull the sword out. So you're going to see I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits, and I'm going to move out of the way of that and parry this hit. So I'm going to do 1 hit into a riposte to try to maximize my damage, and then I'm going to wait for his next move and do the same exact thing. 1 hit, riposte, and this is going to prompt him to transform. This is going to happen every single time, so you wait for your stamina to come back and do 4 hits. And then wait for your stamina to come back. Before he can attack, do 1 more hit, and he will stagger every time, and then you can finish him off. And that's 100% consistent. So you're not going to see any of the speedrunners doing that. It's not the fastest or most optimal way, but it's a very effective way to do it. Especially if you know how to parry and you have good timing and good confidence in yourself. I definitely recommend doing that. And learning the parry timings is definitely going to help you out later on when you face the champion version of that boss fight, which is, in some people's opinion, very difficult. But again, if you know the parry timings and you're very confident in your own abilities, you won't have too much trouble with it. So moving up in here into Firelink, we're going to do the tree skip, which is going to allow us to do a couple of trades to get some early Titanite. As you'll see me here, completely fail the first jump. This jump can be pretty difficult. Sometimes it takes me 10 tries to get it. The other time I'll do it perfectly on the first try. So it's just kind of one of those things. You just have to accept it. Sometimes you're on, sometimes you're not. So pushing up here, if you've got the black fire bombs as your starting gift, you can get an early Titanite chunk. And again, those fire bombs I picked up earlier in the cemetery will give me this large Titanite shard here and Estus shard there. Coming over here, you can pick up the silver serpent ring. I'm not going to do it. If you need the souls or would just like to have them, but again, Soul Level 1, you're probably not going to be too concerned about it. So I'm going to come down here. There's a couple of things I'm going to grab from the Shrine Handmaid here. A couple of the purple moss, a couple extra fire bombs, and a dagger. We are going to use those fire bombs here, and throughout the journey, just kind of a good tool to have in certain situations. Don't really think I had anything crop up in this run where I really needed to use them, but again, just a useful tool to have, something that can be helpful when computer goes wonky or AI bugs out on an enemy. You can pull certain enemies with that. It can be just a useful kind of all-purpose thing. Alright, so that pushes us into the High Wall of Lothric. And this area is kind of the proving grounds, I think, for Soul Level 1, because there's going to be a lot of things that get thrown at you, and it's going to kind of just be a good opportunity for you to see if this difficulty is something that you can handle. So, I'm going to be pushing past. You're going to notice that I'm going to push past most of the regular enemies in the game. I'm not going to be fighting them. They are just very dangerous. Shaving off again, just almost your entire life bar in one hit. Dodging these guys here. And be very careful right here. I did have some terrible luck moving up here. Most of the time you can just kind of roll past this guy. He'll swing and you can roll past him, but look at this. And I thought, oh geez, this is it for me. But I made it through, so it really is just a testament to how good the rolls are in this game, guys. And learning the roll timings of enemy attacks is going to be your best friend, especially when you're on Soul Level 1 and you have nothing else to rely on other than your own ability to roll. So just be sure to really utilize those iframes on the rolls, and you should be good. So I'm going to kill this guy here because he can chase you pretty far. I've had it happen before on some of my failed attempts. Just want to get rid of him. That other guy won't really bother you. A lot of times he glitches out by the ladder. He'll climb up the ladder even. So it's not too much of a threat. Those black fire bombs come in good handy here, guys. You throw the other 4 that you got and do a cheeky emote on the pussive man there because I don't like him, and taking out this bug down here to get the raw gem. So this next area, again, this is kind of what I meant by the proving grounds earlier that I spoke on, and there's a lot of guys here. There's a lot of guys, and normally when you come through here and you've got some levels on you, it's not too big of a deal. These guys don't hit very hard, especially when you have armor on. I'm not wearing any, so you can mostly get through here unscathed, but just for brevity, I was trying to push through here as quickly as possible. And we've just picked up the broadsword there, which is going to be the weapon that I'm going to be utilizing for most of this run, and that you're going to see in a lot of the speed runs. Post patch, I believe it was 1.02 or 03 that nerfed the Astora sword, so I'm going to be using the broadsword instead. Take out this dog right here, guys. Those firebombs are perfect for that. The dogs in this game, if you're not... Most people who play the game know this, but the dogs in this game are an absolute nightmare. They will teleport around. They will do all kinds of funky things. So just get rid of the dog, get rid of the headache. That's what I say. So over here, this guy, not too big of a threat. Just do a roll, get past him, and as soon as you get out of the courtyard, he won't bother you anymore. So I'm going to top off here. And I'm going to push past these 2 Lothric Knights. If you run past the right side, your right side of the Spear and Great Shield guys, their attacks will whiff you every time. You don't even have to have the fastest running speed to do it. As long as you run off your right side of them, they will miss you almost every time. And it's very consistent. You don't have to roll. So Vort. Vort, typically not a very challenging boss. If you picked up the Deep Battle Axe, you can kill him pretty easily with charged R2s from that. Even if you don't have the strength to wield it one-handed, two-handing it, and charging R2s when you get behind him is perfect. I'm not going to do that here. You're going to see me using one of those lightning resins that I picked up earlier, and just going to town on him when I get behind him with R1s. Which is pretty good, but you definitely want to make sure that you finish this fight quickly. You don't want that gold resin to run out. If that gold resin runs out, you're going to be in for a rough time because your hits are going to be doing around 20 to 30 damage, and 20 to 30 damage on this guy in the second phase because nobody really knows his second phase because normally he always goes down right here. You're going to see me just wail on him and put him down, but again, letting that resin run out in his second phase can be pretty dangerous, so just don't do it. Just put him away and move on to the next area here. Get your bonfire. Go ahead and do this so that we can skip that door opening sequence, and we're going to have these demons here carry us into the settlement. So I'm going to go ahead and make a quick trip back to Firelink here to turn in that Estus shard that I picked up from the anvil there in that treacherous room with the dog and the 3 big hollow guys. And doing a couple upgrades on my broadsword, getting to +1. I'm going to go ahead and infuse it raw for the beginning of the game. And I'll also go over just kind of what my strategy is as far as weapons go with this guide. going to be utilizing the raw broadsword early, and at the point after Wolnir, I'm going to be transitioning that to the fire broadsword, because the fire broadsword is going to deal more damage on riposts, and that's going to be very valuable against the Pontiff, so I'm going to go ahead and do that when that becomes applicable, but nothing to really worry about right here. Just some preview for what's to come. And look at this. This was bad. This was very bad. I thought the guide was going to end here. This dog just bullies me. Just absolutely bullies me. And you know, the funny thing is, sometimes you'll get dogs that are just really passive and don't really do anything, kind of let you hit them. And other times they're just the worst, like this. And look at this. Ugh, just messy. Just really messy. Probably the messiest this guide gets is this sequence right here. And you know, it just goes to show you, you don't have to be perfect to do this. I'm definitely not perfect. I do have, I would say, pretty good experience with this game. Pretty good experience with Soul Level 1. But I'm not a pro. I'm not a pro at this game at all by any standard. I'm not a speedrunner. Even though this guide is pretty quick, I did go through the game in about 2 hours, and I think my final time was about 2 hours and 12 minutes. Something like that. And when I cut all the loading screens out and transitions and everything, I believe I got this video down to right around that time. So gee, another guy just wails on me from behind here. And at this point I'm thinking, geez, I'm not even going to make it out of this area. But that's how it goes, you know? Sometimes the enemy's just, the RNG's not on your side, but just push through, persevere. That's the best thing you can do. Don't give in when you're feeling like the game is just overwhelming you. Just stay in your element. Another hit. Gosh almighty, these guys are just wearing me out. I'd almost forgotten this. I recorded this about a month ago, so you know, there was many failed attempts because I did want to record this all in one go with no deaths, and I was able to get it. So was pretty proud of myself for being able to do that. Even though there's people who've done way more challenging things than this here, but you know, I felt pretty good about my ability to get this done. So pick up that sharp gem right there, guys. Very important to get that, especially if you're going to be following this guide to the T. You're definitely going to want to pick that sharp gem up. I'm not going to be utilizing the Dragon Slayer's Axe in this guide, guys. The Dragon Slayer's Axe is a fantastic weapon for Soul Level 1, and you're going to see a lot of people using that, especially when you're a newer player, and I used it my first few times through Soul Level 1. But I did find an alternative that was a little quicker and didn't rely on completing Sirius's quest line, and bam, right there, gosh, I remembered that one. But back on the topic at hand, not going to be utilizing Dragon Slayer's Axe. Going to instead be going for the Sellsword Twin Blades, which you will see on some of the speedrun attempts, and I believe it's on the current world record holder. I believe he uses those. Cannot remember the gentleman's name who holds that record, but I believe that is the weapon of choice currently for speedrun. So why the Sellswords, you may wonder? Well, I'm glad you asked. Sellsword Twin Blades, besides being one of my absolute favorite weapons in PvP and something that I've utilized quite a bit on that front, they have the benefit of just spooning out tons of damage very quickly to bosses and offering a ton of stagger potential that you will not get with the broadsword and you will not get with the Dragon Slayer's Axe, just because every L1 is 2 hits, and stagger is based on number of hits in this game. So every time you deal an L1, it's effectively 2 R1s as far as the stagger goes. So you will get all kinds of stagger just from having that weapon over the alternatives that you may never even get, and that's something that's going to be on display in this guide later on when we get to that point, but just something to look forward to. So resting at that bonfire, you're going to see throughout this guide, I'm not going to rest at very many of the bonfires because this was, I don't know if I explicitly stated this earlier, but this is a no death run. Jeez, there's another big hit. But this is a no death run, so I was putting myself on a strict standard of no deaths, which was a pretty, it seemed like a tall task to me at the time, but after making some adjustments to my play style and some strategic adjustments and some boss fights, most of the strategies against the bosses you're going to find are going to be pretty solid if you follow them to the T. So I'm going to pop on those 2 charcoal pine resins that I picked up earlier in that first house. And I'm also going to be popping on that fire clutch ring for some extra fire damage, which is going to be very beneficial here against the curse rotted greatwood, guys. And I'm also going to show off another trick here that maybe many people don't know. If you turn the camera away from the greatwood here, guys, you can effectively take out all of these guys right here without aggroing the boss. So again, just turn the camera away from him. Just keep the camera off of him, and you can take out all of these guys. And see, still no aggro. And it just makes this first phase easier, especially when you can't take very many hits like I can. So 1, 2, 3, 4 takes that out, and then 1 here takes that out. And then 2 hits on the hand. If I can turn my camera correctly, there we go. And that's going to get him below 50% life before you even go into the second phase. And he's not even going to have a chance to attack here in the second phase because I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do to deal some quick damage. Move to his leg here, pop another bundle. 1, 2, take that out. His arm's going to sprout. 1, 2, 3, 4. And he hangs on with just a pinch of life and hit the hand once, and he's done. And that can be a very frustrating fight for a lot of people. It can be very difficult to get through it, but again, if you follow these strategies, you're not going to have very much difficulty, guys. I cut my teeth on several of these bosses to get these strategies, and that's pretty much the reason that I wanted to share this, because I just feel like Soul Level 1 really kind of encapsulated that feeling of going through this game for the first time to somebody who maybe, you know, has a lot of experience with the game already and just wants to see what this is like, see what this challenge is like, and maybe just broaden their horizons a little bit. So upgrading to +2 here at Firelink, and we're going to be moving back to that bonfire that I rested at here at the Undead Settlement. And making the journey to the Road of Sacrifices, which this part right here, guys, can be very difficult, but I'm going to alleviate some of that by using these fire bombs to take out these 2 dogs and several of these hollow guys. Chugging an Estus and pushing past them. So once you've done that, most of the legwork is done, and I made that look pretty easy, but if you try to move through there without doing that, those firebomb throws, you're going to be in for a rough time, because that is one of the first areas where the enemies can just absolutely gank you and overwhelm you. If you come onto the other side of the elevator here, it really I don't want to say it 100% de-aggroes these 2 guys, but it will, for the most part, de-aggro them. And right here, you're going to see me. I was messing in the menus with something. I just felt like something was off, and I was trying to figure out what it was. And it was the auto wall recovery on the camera. And most people you're going to see have this on, but for me, I like to play claw. And when I play claw, I hold. I can hold the circle button and still tilt the camera at the same time. So I'm going to pretty much always be in control of the camera while I'm running, just in case something comes up and I need to turn it real quick if there's an enemy pursuing me. But that's just a personal preference, guys. It's not something that's mandatory if you see me do that in there. It's not something you need to do. Again, most people are comfortable with that on, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to anybody else, unless for whatever reason you're weird like I am, and you just like it. So, I guess the moral of the story is do whatever you like. So I'm going to be picking up another couple of Titanite shards here, just pushing past this guy. There's kind of a weird bit of detection right here where you kind of have to run at a certain angle to get past him, but you're going to see me do it. I think it happens again right here. Yeah, it does. So just getting past him there, and we're going to be moving across this area. We don't need to bother with any of those items that are down underneath the bridge or any of that stuff. It's not going to be too helpful to us. It might be if you're taking your character to New Game Plus. I think Tears of Denial is on that down there, so you may want to pick that up if you plan to take this character to New Game Plus, but I'm not concerned with it on this character, so I'm just going to keep pushing ahead. I'm going to be popping that Fire Clutch Ring on, guys, because this is going to be one of the rare instances where you're going to see me fight some of the regular enemies, because I think that they're too dangerous to be left alone. And no, it's not these bugs here. It's this lycanthrope guy here, and he is mean. He is very mean. He has fast attacks. He covers a lot of ground. He persists like hell after you. He will hunt you down. So I'm just going to smack him down with a couple of R1s here, and we're done with the Fire Clutch Ring. We can go ahead and pop that back off. So this Black Knight here, guys, he can one-shot you. He can one-shot you with almost all of his attacks. So don't mess around. Pick up the Sellsword blades here if you're following the guide, and pick up the Farron Coal here, and just continue past him. The roll timings on him are not too tricky. I kind of like to, my strategy with him in general is kind of to fake like I'm going to go to the left and then juke back to the right and do a roll. And most of the time that works for the Black Knights. I'm able to get past them without much issue, but again, if you take a hit from him, look out, because you're probably dead. Probably going to be dead. So another dog, just a firebomb to put him down, and this lycanthrope hunter guy, he happened to be in the vicinity, so we took him out. Another shard there. Okay, cheeky poke from that guy. And shard here. And this should be enough shards to get us to +3 before the Crystal Sage. So where this guide really diverges from speedruns, I'm not going to be going down and fighting the Abyss Watchers at this point. Not that the Abyss Watchers are a particularly scary or difficult boss, but things can still go wrong there. You know, they still hit pretty hard. So I have pretty clear-cut strategy against Crystal Sage, so I'm going to opt for this path instead. Picking up the Estus Shard there, and we're going to go ahead and go back to Firelink here, just to drop off these items and get upgraded to +3. But back to progression through this game. I'm going to be heading to the Crystal Sage, and then from the Crystal Sage I'm going to be going to the Cathedral of the Deep, opening up the shortcuts there. And then I'm going to be doing something that may terrify some people, but I'm going to be actually taking on the Dancer at that point. And people may say, gee, taking on the Dancer that early with, you know, a +4 weapon, because I will have +4 at that point. I don't know if I can do the Dancer at +4. And guys, I'm not going to lie to you and say that, oh, the Dancer is easy, because the Dancer's not easy. The Dancer has a lot of moves that can one-shot you. Not particularly any one move, but several combos that can one-shot you and just be an absolute nightmare for a player to deal with. But I do have a very good strategy that if you take the time to learn and you're willing to cut your teeth on the Dancer, I promise you can get through, if you're willing to put the work in. I will preface it by saying that. But more on that when we get there. Heading up to the Crystal Sage. And I'm going to be popping on the shield here because I am going to be doing a parry on the Crystal Sage. It's going to be allowing us to skip the second phase. So we're going to come up here and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 hits with the bundle on. Make sure you've got the bundles. And we're just waiting for him to pop up again. So 5 hits with the bundles, and now we're going to be waiting for him to pull his rapier out, and here it is. Boom, parry. Pop the bundle, riposte. Boom. Now make sure you get the timing right here. You need 4 hits. 1, 2, 3, 4 hits, and he goes down. I missed that first hit because I didn't have good timing. Just make sure that you have good timing and that you have enough to get 4 hits. If you get 4 hits on him, you skip second phase. So I'm going to be immediately moving to the cathedral here. Just getting past these guys. Not too worried about these lizards. Don't need any twinkling at this point. And right here, guys, very important to pick this up. The Herald armor, which is going to be our armor set here for the beginning portion of the game. And you've probably wondered why I haven't worn any armor up to this point. It was really just for the little bit of speed boost that you get and the extra roll distance. Not necessarily something I recommend as my camera goes haywire there. And this guy, jeez. Bugging the crap out of me. Get away from me, man. Popping a heal. And I am going to show you where there is 100% physical shield if you're interested in it. It can be useful in one boss fight that I will explain a little later, but otherwise it's not going to have any practicality. You can't wield it as it's intended to be used because you don't have the strength. So if you move through this ditch here, you can avoid most of the dogs. And I can't remember on this run if the dogs pursued me or not. And it looks like I got a clean run where they didn't. Now sometimes, guys, I will warn you, it will not go that smoothly. And you will get 2 dogs chasing you up to this door. The best strategy against the dogs, guys, do not panic. Do not panic, just put your shield up, let the dog hit the shield, and then take the dog out. If the dog hits the shield, it's going to bounce off, it's going to be stunned for a second, you're going to have a nice good opportunity to just wail on it. But do not panic and try to roll away from them. It doesn't end well. So just don't do it. Take out these guys, grab this Estus shard here, and push up into this graveyard area with all these... I don't even know what these disgusting things are. I don't know if they're hollows or what's going on with them, but there's probably some lore significance. I'm not a lore expert in this game, guys. I'm sorry, but I do know some of the lore, but I'm not well up on all of the intricacies of this game or everything that's necessarily going on. I can tell you probably the general idea, but you know, it may start a comment war or something with people, so I'm probably just going to abstain from it. So down here, this bone shard, the grave lady's going to chase you. Just get past her, get past that, because you don't want those leeches on you guys. Do not let those leech guys hit you. If they do happen to hit you, let one of these guys with the fire arrows hit you. It will kill the leeches instantly, and you won't have to worry about the bleed. But better to just avoid all of it. What great advice in a guide, right? Don't get hit. Oh my goodness. So yeah, moving down here, I'm gonna do a little bit different strategy than what people do. I'm gonna be jumping to this ledge here, and I'm gonna be climbing up here onto the roof of this building, and doing a, I don't want to say difficult jump, but you can miss it if you're not careful. So just make sure that you've got the right angle and distance there, and you should land right here on this balcony. And I'm going to push past these grave ladies. Not sure what happened to her AI right there. She kind of wigged out, didn't she? But touch this door, and you will have iframes throughout. Look at this hollow just on me. Goodness. Sometimes the enemies will do this, you know. They'll just get right behind you, and they're just dead set on doing some attack on you, and you just can't shake them easily. It was that backstab move he wanted to do, I think. But I'm going to be opening up this shortcut here and taking down this giant. I'm going to be fighting this giant a little differently than how you may see most people do it, but this is how I've always done it. So I'm going to be fighting him on the ledge above and not down below at his feet. And this may be a little scary for some people, but for me, I'm pretty comfortable with it. But again, if you're not comfortable with this, you can definitely always go down into the tar or sludge or whatever that stuff is down there, and just wail on his feet until he goes down. But I was pretty comfortable with him, so I just opted for this. And it looks pretty cool too, so it looks pretty cool to roll through that like an action hero. So I'm going to use some bundles to speed this up, but if you just roll through his hands right here, if you just roll straight back, you'll have an opportunity, a nice good opportunity to get some hits, just like that. And popping some bundles here, just continuing to deal damage. He's almost done already. There we go, roll, and a couple hits, and goodbye, Mr. Giant. Pick up Lloyd's sword ring right here, guys. Very important to get it. Do not miss it. It's going to be vital to this run, along with those paladin ashes from earlier. Those two items, in order to get the shield ring, are going to be your lifeline for the majority of this playthrough. It's going to keep you from getting one-shotted. It's going to give you a little bit of extra damage. Both of these two things just of vital importance, especially when you have this low of life. So definitely want to make sure you do that. Picking up that large shard from him also gives you the ability to go to +4, and this is going to be enough for us to take on the Dancer. The Dancer. The Dancer can be a nightmare, though. Seriously. So, dropping back into Lothric, I'm going to pop these two rings on. And this is going to give us, I would say, a substantial amount of damage. You would be surprised how much damage you can deal to this boss if you get a good pattern. And the pattern's pretty easy to manipulate. I'm not going to say that it's easy, but if you know what you're doing, you can manipulate it fairly well. So take out Emma. Sorry, Emma. We got places to go and stuff to do. I'm going to pop on a human pine resin, and here is the Dancer. Alright guys, so the strategy here is to move behind the right leg and stay there no matter what. Make sure that you are behind the right leg at all times. If you are behind the right leg, this boss has very little resistance for you. You're going to keep getting this move right here where she tries to grab you. Just roll through it. Do not try to roll away from it. Roll through it, or you will get grabbed right out of the air. And me right now, I'm in a dangerous spot on the left leg. You need to stay on that right leg, guys. The left leg, she can turn and do a quick upward swipe that can shave off most of your life, and she can follow it up with a stab that can kill you instantly. Do not get on the left leg. Stay on the right. So again, back to the right leg. She's going to do a slam, followed up by another swing. Make sure you're on that right leg. And we're going to get this move, which is really easy to just roll through. And we're getting this move already, and look at the damage I've already done, guys. Roll through this. We still have that resin going. Keeping up the damage, keeping up on the hits. 1, 2, and 3. I didn't even have to dodge the second one. She moved away from me. A couple hits, and we're back on this move, and she's dead. I do a little taunt there. So, you saw how well that can go. I'm very learned at this boss, guys. I've spent a lot of time on it. I've been killed a lot of times by that boss, but I don't have trouble with that boss anymore. Stick to that right leg like glue. And it's a lot easier to do if you can learn how to play without the lock-on. Playing with the lock-on sometimes can just mess with you guys. And if you can get good enough and confident enough in yourself to play without lock-on, you can have all kinds of great results. You just have to believe in yourself a little bit. So move behind this table here, and you can let these two guys go. And these guys are essentially just souped up versions of the knight that you encountered already at the high wall. So I'm just going to let him go by. And then I'm going to push past him and light this bonfire here. So this next sequence is going to be the most boring part of the guide. It's going to be me fighting this Lothric Knight to get 10 large shards so I can upgrade my weapon. And it's going to offer me an opportunity to kind of discuss a little bit of strategy on them. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to lock on. I'm going to bait that attack there, the 3-hit combo. I'm going to walk backwards away from it, and I'm going to turn and parry the second hit. And then I'm going to get 3 swings, and then I'm going to move away. So if he does this, then you can use the weapon art to get a free riposte. Anytime he shields, weapon art, riposte. Easy damage. And that's 1 shard. So again, same thing, just matrix dodging the first one, and then coming back in to riposte the second one. It looks very difficult, guys, but it's actually not. Ooh, a little scary there. He shook things up on me. I just hit him with the weapon art because he had low life. Boom, again, same thing. It may look very scary, guys, but you can take 1 to 2 hits from this guy depending on what the hits are before you will die. So as long as you stay within yourself and don't panic, you can farm this guy for shards all day. You can farm this guy for chunks if you want to, and you can completely skip the next sequence that I'm going to be doing in Lothric Castle if you have the patience for it. But, you know, again, just to kind of streamline things, I just went for the 10 large shards, and I picked up the chunks up in Lothric Castle to go ahead and get us to +9, which is what this whole next section is about, is getting to +10. And the route I'm going to be taking is up into Lothric Castle. We're going to be picking up several chunks up there to get to +9, and once we've gotten to +9, I'm going to be heading down to fight Osiris. And from Osiris, we're going to be going to Champion Gundyr. And you may say, well, you mentioned something about a slab, didn't you? There's no slab that I can think of that's down around the Untended Graves area. And the answer is yes and no. There isn't a slab in particular, but there is an item, particularly the coiled sword fragment, that if traded with the crows does yield a Titanite slab. So I am going to be returning that to the crows in exchange for a slab to go ahead and get a +10 weapon before the Abyss Watchers. And if you want to become a powerhouse, especially through this middle portion of the game, if you're following this route, you are going to see absolutely amazing results, guys, after you kill Gundyr and get that +10 weapon. Throw in the Prisoner's Chain there, those 15 free levels, essentially. You're going to have it made. Abyss Watchers, Wolnir, Old Demon King, Pontiff, even Aldridge. Absolutely melt all those guys. So I've got to be getting close here to my total of 10. If you can tell, guys, I'm not particularly up to date with everything that's going on in this guide. As I said, I recorded this about a month ago, and there were several attempts, several failed attempts, and I learned a lot in those, and I learned what not to do, I learned what you can do, and I learned what, in my opinion, works the best, which is what you're seeing now in this finished product of me getting through this entire game without dying, which is, you know, something to be proud of in and of itself, you know. And I definitely believe that that anybody can do this. You know, I'm not a pro player of this game. I'm not a speedrunner. I'm not somebody who just has hours of time to devote to it. You know, I do have a day job. I have other things that you know, other obligations that I have to do, and this game is a passion for me. This game is something that I feel pretty strongly about, but I don't think that people should shy away from a challenge like this. I think that there's a lot to be said about somebody who can put themselves through this and come out on the other side. So there was our 10th one. And if you just come up here, there is a Titanite chunk here that I'm going to be picking up, and I did get a drop of a Titanite chunk during one of those encounters with the knight, but just in case you didn't, there's one, and I'm going to be upgrading my weapon with all of these resources that I've just picked up to +7. And once we've gotten to +7, that should be sufficient for you to be able to get through the Lothric Castle and have decent damage against those guys in there. So there we go, +7. And back to another very tricky sequence of the game, or a sequence that can be very tricky. I had several bad attempts here. Several attempts that either by just virtue of having bad luck or by virtue of me just not playing very well. To put it pretty plainly, if I can speak. These guys, all I can really say about them is don't take them lightly. One of the worst things you can do is take these regular hollow guys lightly, thinking that they're just regular enemies. They will hit you for 70% of your life bar, or 80% even. If you're embered, they may even be able to one-shot you with a couple of attacks if you're not embered. So just be very careful. I'm going to go ahead and come up here and light this bonfire, and this guy's going to follow me. Just move away from him, guys. These guys can be very careful, I will say that. These guys, if you just saw another one go by, can shoot crossbows through the geometry. Through that wall. And there's no explanation for it. It's just a blatant oversight. But it can happen. You have to be aware of it. You can get blindsided by one of those crossbows, stunned from it, and then that hollow with the axe can follow up and kill you. It can happen. And it happened to me, I believe, in the recordings of this guide. So just be aware that it can happen. I could probably go on and on about all the mistakes that I made, all the things that went wrong. And things will go wrong, guys. What you're seeing here is the result of hours of effort to get the perfect run. So if you don't watch this and think, gosh, that just looks perfect. I don't think I could do that. Trust me, guys. I cut my teeth here. I struggled. It was not all sunshine and rainbows like what you're seeing here. And even in this guide, I mean, it's not... There's moments where I make mistakes. There's moments where it looks like I'm not going to make it out of this, but you just kind of have to push through it. So we picked up that undead bone shard down there, and we picked up a couple of chunks there. We're going to be moving here to pick up this last chunk right there. And moving around here to another area that can be very dangerous. There's a crossbow guy. There's a large hollow with a halberd, and there's another one of these large hollows with the axe, and he does a great move where he just does the jumping attack, which is really easy to move around. And coming over here, I'm going to show you where there's another raw gem. Just in case you were going for the Dragon Slayer's axe instead of the Cell Swords, you can use that one. And guys, sometimes you may notice if you run this that they breathe fire really quickly when you come up to the stairs, and sometimes they just kind of go dumb and let you run by. Well, and I didn't figure this out until recently either. That dragon will do sort of a roar or like a taunt, and when he's taunting, you can run by and you won't be attacked. But if you try to run at any other time, they'll just kill you. So just be careful as we push into this room that's just a death trap with fire bombs everywhere, barrels exploding, enemies coming out of the doors, enemies coming out of the walls, enemies coming out of the floor, seemingly. Just a lot of enemies to deal with. And these dragons, which are arguably not too tough, especially if you know how to deal with them. This pus of man right here, I'm going to show you something that maybe you don't realize. If you throw a firebomb here, a lot of times you can push past him, and be careful, guys, because you can get stuck depending on the angle that the pus of man is at when you hit him with the firebomb. If you try to run past him and it's not working, just back up. Back up, reset, throw another firebomb, try again. Do not stand there and just get whacked by him when he recovers, because that can happen. And I've had it to be where it takes 3 or 4 or even 5 attempts to get it lined up where I can run past him. But if you do, as I watch this guy, make sure he's not following me. If you do, then you will have an easy time, and that enemy will not be a problem for you. And speaking of problems, we've got another one here coming up. There's a Lothric Knight, a red-eyed Lothric Knight with a Lothric Knight Ultra Greatsword, and this will one-shot you guys, so do not get hit by it. I throw a bomb at him to aggro him, and I run around the pillar to get away from him, because I've had I can think of at least 3 attempts where I did everything flawlessly. I got to this point, I tried to run past that guy, and he did a swing and killed me instantly. And I had to go back to the Cemetery of Ash. Because I'm insane and I have to play with certain restrictions on myself. It's just the way I am. So throw another firebomb at this guy, drop, and then roll past him to get behind him. If you do that, you won't have any issue with him like I didn't. And that will be all of the Titanite chunks that we need in order to get to +9. As I rested the bonfire for some strange reason. I don't know what I was doing there. There we go, +9. And popping my armor back on. You are going to see me wearing some sort of weird fashion at some points. I was trying to maximize my defenses, and I was wearing these Lothric Knight leggings, which actually look terrible with the rest of this armor. I don't really know what I was doing. And they don't even really offer that good of defenses. I think their lightning defenses is like pathetic. Not that the Herald ones are much better or any better, but come on, guys. Fashion over stats, right? I mean, obviously. It's like Dark Souls 101. So if you come down here, and guys, be careful too. I will mention on the run that I recorded before this run, I remember this distinctly. I came down here without my armor on. I got onto that elevator, and I went to put my armor on casually. Next thing I know, that big knight with the mace was standing on the elevator with me, whaps me with his shield, and I fall to my death. So I remember that pretty distinctly. It happened to me. Don't let it happen to you. As I pick up a couple other chunks around this area, if you just move around the outside, there's not too much of a threat to that the enemies can offer you, especially if you move quickly. If you dawdle around, then those guys can catch up to you, and you can get into a fight with one of those pussive men, and you probably won't have a good time doing that. So don't do it. And here I am messing with my armor again for some unknown reason. And I'm going to do that same kind of move again. Move to the left, and then juke back to the right. Do a roll. It does a really good job of kind of faking out the AI. I'm going to pop this other gold resin that I have. And here's Osiris, guys. So the strategy against Osiris, in the first phase, when he jumps, there's a little bit of a delay and then a roll, and you're safe. Now, what you want to do is kind of stay in between his leg and his tail, if you can. You want to get behind him, between the leg and the tail, and just keep rotating with him. And make sure you're not too close right here because there is a little bit of a hitbox behind him, so just move back to the tail while that magic attack is going on. So we're already into second phase. I mean, if you've got the lightning resins on and a +9 weapon, you're going to be doing good damage. You're going to be into second phase. So right here, I like to roll to the right, although that attack is not very hard to dodge, especially if you've seen it a couple of times. Not very difficult. What is very dangerous about this fight is the near instant charge move that this guy can do. And if you don't have Lloyd's shield ring on and you're not at 100% HP, it will one-shot you guys. And there's no indicator. There it was right there. You saw me put my shield up at the last second and blocked almost all of the damage. And this was the reason for that 100% physical shield, guys. You may not be able to wield that shield, but if you have that shield equipped and you're blocking, it will block 100% of the damage from that attack, and you will not even need the stat requirement in order to wield it. It's an option for you if you're interested in it. It's very effective, and it can save your life. I didn't opt for it here. I just used Grass Crest, and it worked out okay. Do whatever works best for you. Either are valid. As you can see, that boss doesn't have very much to offer other than that one attack, so just be aware of it. Anytime that boss turns to face you, put your shield up. Do not continue to attack. All you need is just a little bit of stamina, and you can block the instant charge. But if he hits you with the instant charge and you're attacking him, you're going to be in for it. Look out, because even at 100 HP, it's going to bring you down to like a fragment of your life. And that's how panic starts, and that's how bad things happen. So just avoid it. I did have a couple of my failed attempts did actually end on Osiris, unfortunately, because he's a really easy boss. But I had situations where, you know, I got hit by that silly attack, and I panicked, and it can happen. You know, it's one of those things. And you get to see the clean run where I did it well, and I executed, which is ultimately what that fight comes down to, is execution. But it can go wrong. And that's not to say, you know, if it goes wrong that it's over. I mean, if he hits you, you can get up. A lot of times he follows that attack up with the spin, which if you stand up and dodge the spin, you have a great window to heal. But if you stand up and start mashing your Estus, you're probably going to get hit, you know? So just be aware that, you know, if you take a hit, if you take a big hit, don't panic. The worst thing you can do is start trying to mash your Estus. The best thing you can do is to watch the boss, look for his next move, dodge it, and then heal. If you try to do everything at once, you're just going to have a bad time. So moving through a familiar area here, I just pushed past all the enemies in similar fashion to the first time, and I'm going to be popping on the small leather shield. And here's Gundyr in his truest form. So I'm going to get a few hits on him here at the beginning, and I'm going to be utilizing these charcoal pine bundles for some extra damage. What you want to do here that I did not do right there by mistake is you want to try to get 2 R1s like this, 1, 2, and then riposte for maximum damage. Boom, right there, and look at that, 1304, good damage. So we're going to back up here, we're going to let him do his spin. When he starts to spin, parry. You will get it every time. This shield has tons of iframes, guys. Iframes. Parry frames. You do not have to be the best person in the world at parrying to parry with this shield. As you'll see again, there. And here it comes again, spin, boom. I mess it up again, but it doesn't matter, he has no life. And guys, a lot of people say, well, he's very aggressive, you know, in this second fight, and it just kind of intimidates, I think, just the level of aggression and how he just stalks you around the boss arena. Don't worry about it. One of the best things you can do, start a new game, sprint to Gundyr, and just watch what he does. The moves are all the same. The moves themselves haven't been sped up at all. It's the exact same attacks. All it is it looks faster because the boss is so persistent in this second fight against him. So just go into the first encounter against Edex Gundyr and just take some time to watch his moves. Watch what he does. Get a feel for the attacks and try some parries. Try to land some parries on him. You can spawn Assassin and you start with the target shield. And the target shield has the exact same parry frames, English language, as the small leather shield, and then you can just take that opportunity to learn the timings on the parries, and you can utilize that against Champion Gundyr. You know, once you know the parry timings on that boss, he's a joke. He's nothing, you know, he doesn't have anything for you. Because you can parry everything he does except for that evil kick that he does and the body slam that he tries to do, which are absolutely horrendous. Not to mention he can combo those into other attacks, which are sometimes you can't even break out of. But since we have his soul and the coiled sword fragment, we can go ahead and trade that for a slab. And we could trade the soul of Gundyr for the prisoner's chain and get those free 15 levels, which, if you're not aware, is 5 levels in vigor, 5 levels in endurance, and 5 free levels in vitality, which equates to more survivability for you as the player. So it's definitely a ring that you should be wearing, guys. If you don't wear any other ring, wear the prisoner's chain. You may think, well, it mentions that, you know, I take more damage. Guys, the extra damage that you take, it's like 4% extra damage or something along those lines. Don't quote me. But it's offset by the extra amount of armor you can wear anyway. Make sure that you're wearing it. So now that we've got that, and we've got our character essentially, I don't want to say fully, but essentially as strong as the character can be. And we're going to be going to take on the Abyss Watchers. And this is the payoff, guys. This second half of the run, not the full second half, but I would say this middle third of the game is going to be the payoff for any struggle that you had in the initial portion. This is where you get to steamroll bosses. This is where you get to absolutely just unload on people and feel powerful in a Soul Level 1 run where you're supposed to be powerless. So we're going to do this section pretty much as normal. I'm going to be moving to this right side here first, taking a different path than the speedrunners because, again, this is my path. This is what I've always done. Light this candle here, or put out this candle here, rather. And then I'm going to use the Homeward Bone to go back to the bonfire. Boom. I'll be switching into the Fallen Knight armor as well. Checking some armor again for some unknown reason. I was just... I get in these moods where, you know, I just get obsessed with something, like checking little bits of resistance I get from armor, like, does this really matter? And then I think about it later, and I'm like, why was I worried about that? You know, the extra little bit of damage that you're going to take is probably not going to save you at this level anyway, guys. So just wear some good armor. The best thing I can tell you, wear at least some medium level armor. The armor that you get from Grey Rat, if you freed Grey Rat in the high wall, and the knight armor that he sells, just the standard knight armor that comes on the starting class, that is, I don't want to say it's the best, but it's arguably probably one of the best that you can wear at Soul Level 1 as far as just the full set, especially that you can get really early. Probably better than the Fallen Knight armor. Don't quote me on that, but it's comparable at least to the Fallen Knight armor and potentially better. But if you did that, go for that armor. You definitely won't be disappointed. I'll say that. It's going to offer you some of the best resistance that you can get. But again, don't worry about it too much like I was doing here. Trying to squeeze out every little bit of defense that I could get. It's probably not going to help you that much. And here I was finally just like, whatever, I'm not wearing these leggings anymore. I think I did that. I was like, yeah, these leggings are horrible. I'm not wearing them anymore. There it was. So, these enemies here, I don't like them. I think that they're a little too quick, a little too fast. And I think they have a little bit too much reach with those spears. So I try to avoid them as much as I can. They're not particularly challenging. They kind of just get on my nerves, so if I can avoid them, I'm going to do it. As I come up here, and I'm not going to be going for the ashes later down in the catacombs that give you the large Titanite, the regular Titanite shards. I'm going to be picking these up here. In my opinion, it's a little bit easier, and I'm not particularly versed in that jump that it requires you to make, that you see all the speedrunners doing to get the ashes down in the catacombs. I'm just going to be skipping those. And this will give us access to unlimited Titanite shards as long as you have souls. Disclaimer. Which we will need later in order to upgrade our Sellsword Twin Blades. So you definitely want to pick up one or the other. I'm going to opt for these here at Fair and Keep and skip the ones in the catacombs. So if you move up here, this is the sequence where these two Dark Wraiths face off against these Gru guys. I'm just going to wait for the fight to ensue. I don't want to get involved in the middle of it. I'd rather them fight and me run past them and me be safe. So I'm going to do that. So a little bit of waiting, a little bit of hesitation on the part of that second Dark Wraith, and that's going to be my opportunity to go ahead and slip past. And be careful here, guys, getting past them. It can be pretty difficult. Sometimes they can just do that attack where they just start flailing that spear around and going nuts. It's pretty hard to avoid them when they do that, especially if you're in close to them, but I got a pretty good pattern. They did the thrust there, and I was able to get by without getting poisoned, which is ultimately what you don't want. Right here, if you just do a roll past this guy, break your lock as you go past him. Break your lock on as you roll, guys. You can turn and do a backstab. Right here again, boom, backstab. And we've got him down to half-life. When the second guy shows up, the best thing you can do is to just avoid until the third guy comes in. The third guy is going to help you. The third guy is just going to take some of the aggro off of you because he's going to start fighting the other two. It's going to give you a pretty good opportunity here as I can just get clobbered by, I don't even know what. There's just blades everywhere, people swinging. But I get a pretty good opportunity there to just throw a couple of hits and move into the second phase. So the second phase, what you're going to want to do is wait either for the spin right here to roll through and do a backstab, or the move where he jumps and spins, you can just walk past it. And I think you're going to see it, maybe not here. I did a terrible job right there and took a ton of damage. He's being really persistent here. But again, he's going to do a couple of these, and I'm not getting my opportunity yet. This is it, I think. Yep, right there. Just walk the way I did. Walk either to the left or to the right. When he does that, to get behind him, and you can do a backstab. And when he gets up, charge an R2. Charge an R2 and follow up with an R1. By this point, he's going to be dead, guys. You've done a ton of damage to him at that point with a plus 10 weapon. There's no way he's going to survive it. If he does, back up, rinse and repeat, and he'll go down. Simple boss. So moving back here to Firelink Shrine, I'm going to drop off the Estus Shard that I had and drop off the Undead Bone Shard. Picking up these lightning resins, which are going to be a little useful later on, and a bunch of these green blossoms, guys. These are very useful. Even though you have the Grass Crest Shield, the blossoms and the Grass Crest Shield together, those two things are going to give you access to tons of stamina recovery, which is what you need when you have very low stamina like this. So be sure that you're utilizing those when you can. It's not mandatory, but any little break you can get, guys, anything that can help you out, anything that can just give you an advantage when you have almost no advantage is going to be your best friend. So this next area, most of it can be skipped, and in my opinion it should be, because I can't stand this area. This and Smoldering Lake, two of my least favorite areas of the game. When you come around that corner, guys, if you do 2 swings like I did, you can kill that that skeleton that spawns the ball, and you can pick up a bone shard there. But don't let that guy run away. If he runs away, chasing him down is just a pain. It's better to just do what I did. As soon as you round the corner, 2 swings, and you can put him down. You don't even have to see him. As long as you start spamming R1 with the straight sword, I mean, there's not too much he can do. So if you come down here, that area right there is where you can make the jump to go across and grab that those ashes that I was talking about earlier, but I'm not going to worry about it. I already picked up my ashes that I need to get Titanite shards earlier in Fair and Keep. So just going to be pushing past all these enemies. Not too worried about them. And this bug right here, guys, you're definitely going to want to take this crystal lizard out here. I called it a bug. They look like bugs. They don't look like lizards to me, but pick that up and make sure you have that fire gem, because once we take out Wolnir and the old Demon King, we're going to be switching this raw broadsword to a fire broadsword. It's just going to grant us a little bit extra DPS in some of the fights to come. So this fight can either be really easy or a nightmare depending on how you approach it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is move to the right, pop a bundle, and do 2 hits there, and that'll break his first bracelet, and then come to the inside of his hand, guys, the inside. Now there's a couple of different things he can do. He can either swipe with the left hand or the right hand, or he can do a smash with the left hand. If those 2 things happen, just wait it out. If none of that happens, do a couple of hits on that, and you should break the second bracelet. When you move to the third bracelet, make sure you move on the inside to get to it as quickly as possible like I did. Get as many hits as you can, guys. Get as many hits as you can, and you should break the third bracelet pretty easily. And it should be over, just the way I did it. If you're using the green blossoms, and you're using the Grass Crest Shield, and you're utilizing the charcoal bundles, you shouldn't have too much difficulty, especially with plus 10 and the fire clutch ring. All of these things should be an easy fight. But again, guys, if you hesitate, if you get nervous, he starts moving, that smoke creeps up on you, it can kill you instantly. If he starts summoning skeletons, it can get really messy. It can get really messy, it can go really wrong. So try not to let it happen. But now we're moving down into my least favorite area of the game, probably, in my opinion. And you know, it's really hard for me to say this, but probably my least favorite area in any Dark Souls game. And what I find ironic about this area is that it's this massive homage to Izalith from the first game. And the kicker is that Izalith in the first game was the worst area of that game. So it's almost like they intentionally made this area bad, or as bad as Izalith in the first game. But why would they do that? Why would they take an area that people hated, that people thought was incomplete, that they themselves acknowledged as incomplete, and replicate it into the third game? It doesn't make any sense, does it? But alas, it's what we got. So you're going to see something terrible happen right here, by the way. I remember this specifically. This was going to be my bathroom break in the run. It was going to be my bathroom break. I thought I'll just sit down right here and let the crossbow up there take care of the worm for me. I'll take a pee. And this skeleton pursued me all the way from the room with the big demon. So as I was getting up to go take a pee, the skeleton attacks me. I'm like scrambling for my controller. Oh, you know, you can just imagine me just panicking. Oh, goodness. But anyway, I put the skeleton down, and we were able to take our much needed restroom break. And you're going to see a little bit of a delay here. I think it took me a little longer because I had to kill the skeleton, and you're going to see me shake back to life here. What's funny about this run, guys, is just that it didn't go perfect. And I think that's probably my favorite thing about it, is it just kind of encapsulates what Dark Souls is and what the experience is like. And that, you know, my experience that I had with this is not going to be the same as your experience that you have with it. And some people may look at that as, oh, well, you know, that's bad. That's not consistent. You know, why isn't the game more consistent? And, you know, it sounds, to me, it harkens back to some of those old DSP videos that you would see where, well, the game's not consistent, dude. But, but, you know, in my opinion, that's what makes the game endearing. That's what gives the game a personality, you know, is just that unknown factor, that feeling of, you know, it being you in the game, and, you know, not always knowing what comes next or how the enemies are going to react, or even just when you see those weird, just strange sequence breaking things that can sometimes happen in the game, and you know, the anomalies of the enemies just behaving strangely, or things glitching out. That's what makes Dark Souls Dark Souls. You know, that quirkiness. And we've seen it ever since the first game, right? We've seen those crazy, just bizarre events that can't be described in any other way than how I just did, in the most illiterate way possible. But again, it's just what makes this series this series. And I think I think that anybody who has experienced all of the games can understand that. I don't think that there's really any need to say more. But this is the old Demon King. And guys, this guy here can be a nightmare. He can either be a nightmare, or he can be the easiest boss in the game. And there doesn't seem to be any in between. He can either give you this pattern that he's giving me right now where he does his melee moves, and you can get to second phase very quickly, or he can do the move where he starts pounding into the ground and summoning the fire that either goes out and then comes back in, or goes in and then comes back out. And you don't want to get stuck in the middle of that, guys. That move is extremely dangerous. If you see him start pounding the staff into the ground repeatedly, move away. Just back away from him. Get as much distance as you can. That fire is going to start forming on the ground. Just get outside the ring. Make him come to you and reset. Do not challenge that fire move, guys, because he can do that fire move and then follow it up with the meteors. So you'll have fire coming in around you, and then you'll also have meteors coming down on top of you. If he starts using any of his pyromancy moves, his ranged pyromancy moves, move away from him. Just move away. Melee, easy. Stay underneath him like I did, you'll be fine. But if you don't get that pattern I just got, it can be a death trap. There can be no escape. And I mean that seriously. I had more runs die to him than I care to admit on that boss. On a boss that most people skip. On a boss that I wanted to skip, but that under the restrictions that I gave myself, I had to include him. Of going through the game and completing all of the main game bosses. So, in my own stubbornness, we were able to achieve victory over him, which felt great. But again, you saw a really clean run. I wish I would have gotten the pattern so that I could explain it more in detail about how bad that boss can be and how terrible it can get. But just be aware, guys. If you don't get the melee moves, if he opts for the magic, again, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but I just want it to be crystal clear. Move away. Just move away from him. But here we are again. Moving on to the next topic at hand, we have the Deacons of the Deep. And this is a boss, guys, that you definitely want to have plus 10 for. It's going to make this fight leaps and bounds easier over what you would encounter if you tried this at the point in the game when they wanted you to take this boss on at around a plus 3 or plus 4 weapon. These guys can gank you. These guys can gank you very quickly, and on a normal run, this is probably one of the easiest bosses in the game. You come in here, you swing R1 a few times, the fight ends. Well, when they can kill you in 3 to 4 hits, if they land one of the big moves on you or something, you definitely want to have some insurance. You definitely want to have that plus 10 weapon. You want to have everything going for you that you can so that you can take these guys out with as little trouble as possible. And right here you're going to see just how bad it can get. See that? See how I just get blended and then they start trying to perform one of their big magic attacks, but I put them down and end it before it comes to fruition. So again, not the cleanest fight there at the end. You saw how bad it could potentially get. I got pinballed around about 3 or 4 hits, and that can compound, guys. That can you can think, oh, it's just 3 or 4 hits. I've still got half my life, and then another couple guys fly in from off screen and hit you, and then you're dead. So just be very careful in that fight, guys. It can I can't even explain how much of a nightmare that fight can be, and why I decided to slide that fight back to when I had a plus 10 weapon instead of doing it with a plus 4. Because it's very doable with a plus 4 weapon, but there's no reason to do it. It's better, it's safer, and we're not doing a speed run, so better to be safe than sorry, right? Take the easy way. So we went ahead and switched now to our Fire Broadsword, and you're going to see why here, instanced actually pretty early. the Earthil Gator, or the dog, or whatever this thing is. I don't know what exactly it really is, but he's going to spawn when you reach these stones right here on the ground. When he turns around, if you just unload on him with every R1 you have, he's weak to fire damage. You can put him down before he even has a chance to attack, and he will not harass you for the rest of this area. So Earthil, probably in contrast to the last area, probably one of my favorites in the game. I love the atmosphere here, just the brooding, the beauty of the snowfall with just the creepiness of the Pontiff Night Ladies. It sort of just culminates in this weird, haunting serenity of mixed emotions. I really can't explain it, but I can really appreciate the effort that went into this level. That being said, this area is extremely dangerous. The enemies here are haunting. They will follow you to the ends of the earth if they get behind you. The Pontiff Night Ladies, I've seen where 2 of the Pontiff Night Ladies have followed me all the way into this room. I tried to light the bonfire and they killed me. I've had runs in that way. I've had those fire witches perform multiple of those fire attacks from behind me, kill me instantly. Guys, when you're running up that path that I just passed earlier, make sure that you're following it on the left side. For some reason, the right side, I had all kinds of trouble running up the right side because that witch that sits on the balcony up above you can hit you with fire spells that you can't see because you're too busy trying to run. Just stay to the left. It gives you a little bit of a better angle to escape some of her attacks. Just remember, when you're running up those streets with the Pontiff Ladies and the Fire Witches, stay to the left. But most of the danger of this area has passed now for the time being. There's another sequence coming up, but for the most part, we're in good shape here. Just pushing past these Earthil slave people, which aren't too dangerous, and into this area where you fight the Earthil Gator if you ran from it earlier, but we don't have to worry about that. It's mostly just some free green blossom pickups. If you just take a look around, I mean, the draw distance in this area is fantastic. I was playing this on the PlayStation 5 console, which I've heard performs similar to the PC version of this game. And don't quote me on that, but I did hear a few people say that the PS5 version of this game, or not the version, but there's no exclusive version, but the PS4 version of this game running on the PS5, I've heard, is very similar. Runs very similarly to the PC version, which runs fantastically. So it really is just a testament to the leaps that the PlayStation 5 console was able to make over the PS4 console, which at launch, you know, this game was locked to 30 frames per second on console, which was pretty disappointing. So this next area here, very dangerous. Multiple dogs. We're going to want to use an alluring skull that we picked up from earlier right here, and I get in a little bit of trouble as I get stuck on those dogs. Throw another skull here and take off to your right, guys. These dogs, 4 dogs, very dangerous. Those dogs will do, I want to say, about half of your life when they hit you. So you want to have maximum run speed. Make sure you have your grass crest shield on. Make sure that you take off any armor that's putting you in mid-roll range. You want to be in fast roll range here, guys, to get past all this. And all you got to do is get past this scythe, which I do a terrible job of doing, but I somehow still come out of it alive. Get through the fog gate. Spam one more roll just to be out of range, and you're safe right here, guys. The boss will not attack you from this range. You can whew, catch your breath and get set for the next fight. So you're going to want to make sure that you have the fire clutch ring on. You're going to want to make sure you have the small leather shield on. And you're going to want to make sure that you have a green blossom to make sure you're maximizing your stamina recovery. Right here at the top of the steps. The top of the steps, guys, is when you're going to want to hit that parry. And then what I like to do is just run away from him again, because I've got the timing down on this move. If you'll see, he comes in again. Boom. Put him down, and this is going to take him immediately into second phase, guys. So do 1-2 hits, back up. Stay away from the AoE. Stay away, stay away. It still does damage. Okay, now he's going to summon the clone. When he summons the clone, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and he's done. That's it. Pontiff Sullivan. A boss that a lot of people have trouble with, but we were able to make it look pretty easy right there. And I didn't even do anything impressive, you know. I only know the timing of that one move. That lunging move is really the only move that I'm able to parry consistently. But it's all you need, you know. By moving away from him, you can bait it out continuously, even on the new game cycles. New Game Plus cycles, rather. Very easy to bait that move out just by getting distance. So now here we are in the infamous Gank City, if you play the PvP of this game. Probably my favorite area in the game, or any Dark Souls game, rather, to PvP. I have really fond memories with one of my buddies that I actually got me into the Dark Souls series of coming to this area and PvPing with him. And we used to have call-outs for all the different little areas. We used to call this area I'm running, this structure I'm running into right now, Puppy Palace. so very very fond and very quirky memories of coming here and being silly and duking it out with people and having a good time. So definitely a lot of fun. Definitely very treacherous enemies. If you come to the right there, you can dodge the arrows, the bombardment of arrows that come from these Silver Knights here, who are a little meaner than their Dark Souls 1 iteration. They're a little bit faster. They're a little bit harder to parry. But if you move the way that I did and you come into this room here, they can't follow you in here. You'll be safe. As we hit the all-familiar sequence of this elevator circling down and prepare for the blast from the past, the second visit to Anor Londo. Which is, in my opinion, a little bit disappointing. I really wish that they would have encapsulated that entire area, that they just kind of sealed off, you know, that area where the bonfire is, where you meet Solaire. I wish that entire structure would have been in this game. Maybe not the area off to the right here where we are now, where the demons are in the original game and the two archers are. They could have left that out, but if they just would have kept that inner part off to the right, I think that this could have also been a really fun PvP area that would have added a little bit more depth to the game and a little bit more lore, and they could have possibly explored, you know, maybe what happened in this area in the time between Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3. It would be this area up here to the right that I'm going to run past. But alas, this is what we got. Which is good, you know, in its own right, I think. It was nice to be able to come back here, I think. So popping on all my armor again. And we're going to be facing off against Aldridge. And guys, this fight can either be really good or it can be really bad. And I can't remember how this fight goes, honestly. I want to say that it doesn't go good. I want to say in second phase I screw it up, and I kind of hope that I do so that you can see just how bad it can get. Right here, do not do what I just did, guys. I got greedy and I got absorbed into that AoE attack. Don't let it happen to you. He's already in second phase now, and I'm getting hit by the fire on the ground, which is bad. I'm still standing in it while I'm trying to heal, which is bad. Now he does the life hunt move, which I'm able to dodge that time. Here it is again. I get greedy again and I get hit. And now his magic is on my tail, which is bad. So I'm looking for him. I'm not finding him. And what happens here? Oh, he tries the magic attack, which is pretty easy to get around. I'm trying to put him down here, and I fail to put him down. He survives by just a pinch of life. Magic's on my tail. He does more magic, and I put him down. Okay, so that wasn't as bad as it could have gone. For some reason, I was thinking in this run that he did the arrows on me, and I was kind of hoping that he did the arrows so that you could just see how terrible it can get. But if you've ever done this fight and you've ever lingered around for too long and not stayed on him, you've seen how bad those arrows can get. You've seen the kind of damage and devastation that they can do when they're chasing you and he's shooting other magic at you simultaneously. So the best thing I can do to offer you advice is to say just stay in the middle of the room after the attacks. Don't get greedy like I did right there and try to get extra hits. Take your hits, move away from him. Do not get caught in those AoEs when he goes into the floor. And you'll have an easy time with that fight. So Yorm in this next area, Irithyll. We're going to be pushing down into this next area here. I'm going to heal up because this Fire Witch can sometimes hit you from really far off screen as one of these slave ladies comes up behind me and whacks me. I get a pretty good pattern here. She does the move that's pretty easy to dodge if you're running full speed. And I think there'll be a good example of what I was talking about here. I believe she shoots fire. Yep, there it was. Did you see that? That came all the way from that room back there, guys. So be careful. That shit can hit you from way far away. So I can't remember what these ladies are called. For the life of me, I can't. Aristocrats, I believe? Jailers? I think it's the jailers. I have a pretty bad relationship with these ladies. just to put it pretty frankly. They're easy in theory, right? I mean, they have that one move. They try to hit you with their soldering iron, sap all your life, and then they just stomp you flat. I mean, it's the easiest move in the world. It's so slow. It's so predictable, but I still find myself every once in a while getting hit by it. And getting hit by that move, guys, is just so demoralizing. It just feels terrible when you get hit because you know you could have done better. You know you could have avoided it. A lot of times what it is it's just greed. It's just getting greedy. It's trying to do too much, which I think a lot of deaths in Dark Souls can be attested to that. Just trying to do too much, not being patient. Speaking of not having patience, these rats here have none. They'll attack you relentlessly. They're really fast, really dangerous, as are their big brothers in here, who I just use a skull to get away from them. And their tails are throwing me all out of whack. As this one hits me, I'm scared to death now because they can do tons of damage. I kind of panic. I'm about to die. It's getting all kinds of bad against this enemy, and I've actually died to these guys before, so be careful. I know you think the rats, I mean, really, but when you've attempted this as many times as I have, and I want to say I probably attempted upwards of 50 attempts to get the perfect run, and that's not to say, you know, it took me 50 attempts to beat Soul Level 1 in Dark Souls 1. I mean, I've beaten this game, I can't even count how many times, but to get this perfect run that I was going for with no deaths, yeah, probably 50 tries. And I can remember distinctly dying to those rats one time. After playing for over an hour and a half and going back to the Cemetery of Ash, which is not fun. Unless you're a masochist. Then you might have fun doing it. But the jailer ladies, and again, what I was speaking about earlier, patience is a virtue against them. And what happens is, what the intent, I believe, was by the creators is, you see your life going down, you panic, and then you get hit by an easy attack. You know? But if you just don't panic, they really can't hit you. They really don't have anything for you. They have that one slow swing. If you're being patient, it's not going to hit you. So my best advice, be patient, split them up, attack when it's safe, because you really need it to be safe in order to go in there and grab those items, guys. If you go in there, if you try to run past them, and you go in there to grab those items, and 5 of those jailer ladies run in there, it can get pretty hectic. So I definitely recommend killing them. I think it's definitely safer than the alternative. As we push past this gargoyle here. And up to the bonfire, where an NPC awaits from one of the previous games that people may recognize if you've played Dark Souls 2. And down to an area that, to me, is more dangerous than I think that it really warrants to be. I mean, it looks like a pretty simple area, right? There's fire coming at you from the right, and then there's one of those gargoyles up there on the ledge. You can go that way, and on several of the attempts I did go that way. But I think it's just safer to come down the ledge the way I went and just avoid the entire sequence. So, again, up to you. Do what you want, but if you want to be as safe as possible, I definitely recommend going down the right side, down the collapsed pillar the way that I did, and into the boss fight here against Yorm. So, this fight is essentially the same as it is on any playthrough. You want to try to maximize your stamina recovery, again, by utilizing the green blossoms. Move away from him, pop the sword on, and go ahead and start charging. You don't need to be locked on to him. You'll actually... Oh, gosh, I take a big hit right there. Make sure that you're just walking and charging as much as you possibly can. Walk, charge, and just keep trying to get your charge up as quickly as possible, because that's going to allow you to end the fight as quickly as possible, which is what you really want here. Dragging things out against this guy, not a good idea. Not that any of his moves are particularly damaging. Well, they're pretty damaging, but not that they're particularly dangerous. They're all really slow. If you stay behind him, he'll just keep doing that turnaround slam move, which is a joke. But again, just keep getting your distance, keep charging the sword, and you should put him down pretty easily. Not too much to say on him. Pretty simple fight. And you'll be transported back to the high wall, but we've already killed the dancer, so nothing to fear here. And back to Firelink to drop off a couple of more Estus and Bone Shards. And our Xanthus Ashes, which is going to be useful later on when we can utilize our sellswords. So the Dragon Slayer's armor. This boss can be very difficult. And I actually like this boss. I think that this boss is challenging. I think that he's very intimidating, especially if you're new, and especially if you're not very learned with him. There are all kinds of AI exploits that you can do with him. I'm not particularly good at any of those. I'm not, like I said, I'm not as learned with this boss. The late game bosses are the ones that I haven't spent as much time with, particularly just because I've not had as much experience with them, or the game in general at the later stages. Because most of my builds have been for PvP characters. But here we are, taking him on. And what I like to do is move to the right here and then just run around him. It offers a good chance to take a couple of swings. He does a big swing with the shield. I dodge through it. He does one swing. I take a hit from the second swing, which is bad. Then he tries the double shield attack. Be very careful of that. It can do a ton of damage to you. The first one takes away your Lloyd's shield. The second one, oh, so we take another big hit. The second one can nearly kill you. So just be very careful. When he has the shield up, I like to just stay away from him until he decides to put it down. He does one hit, 2 hits, I dodge it this time, and then we get the stun. So I take the opportunity to get a bunch of hits, roll behind him, take the opportunity to get another couple of hits. He does this big move here where we just roll through it. I'm wanting him to do the turnaround move where he tries to drop the shield on you. I didn't get it. That attack is a good opportunity to punish, but again, I didn't get it. And this boss fight gets really messy, I remember, here towards the end. He tries to do a big move, but he doesn't have the tracking to get me. I roll through his other big attack. He does the shield drop move, but I wasn't ready for it. I took a big hit. I nearly get killed by the butterfly firing at me off screen. I do a heal. He does this big move again, and then I get hit off screen by that, which is terrible. That attack almost never comes out, and at this point I'm kind of panicking as he hits me another couple of times. Thank goodness that shield attack didn't hit me, or I probably would have died. This is getting all kinds of messy at this point. The meatballs are flying. He's doing his big moves. He tries another one, misses me. He tries a slam, it misses me, and at this point I just am like, geez, just let me get out of this. A couple of R1s and I clean him up. So that fight didn't go very well, in case you needed me to tell you. But I think it's a pretty good testament to how many hits you can take against that boss, because there were at least 1 to 2 occasions in that fight where I took 2 hits. Granted, they weren't as big hits, which probably could have taken me out if I wasn't in Lloyd's shield, but you can survive 2 hits against that boss. Another thing you were able to see is that it's very easy to run away from him. I was in trouble. I rolled his attacks when I had low health. I ran away. I healed. And I got on with the fight. So here's the Crystal Sage again. We're just going to parry him like we did before. Getting in some extra hits to put him down, and we've got him at, I believe he's at 1 hit, which is going to make the second encounter with him upstairs a lot easier. Because once we take him out, there's really nothing in this area that's too challenging. These candlestick guys aren't that big of a deal. We're just going to run past them. We don't need the wax because we're not going into any of the side areas. Also, these guys take extra damage from the fire, which is nice. So do not take the stairs there, guys. It's going to spawn 2 of the hollow slave guys who are a nightmare in this area, an absolute nightmare. My least favorite enemy in the game are those hollow slave guys. With the flamberges and with the thrall axes, those guys, in my opinion, are probably worse than the dogs. Their tracking is all hell. They will follow you to the ends of the earth to get a hit on you. And they do a ton of damage in this area. Very dangerous enemies, guys. Avoid them at all costs. But we're going to be pushing up these stairs here into the next area, the upper level of the archives. Moving around the last of these candlestick people. And outside onto the rooftops, where we're going to be encountering some of these stone gargoyles, or rather one of the stone gargoyles. I'm going to skip the encounters with the gargoyles. I believe we get a pretty good pattern from him where he just kind of flies away, and we're able to get through there. Guys, do not dawdle right there, because that guy can jump onto that balcony with you, and he can do some serious damage to you pretty quickly. Make sure you get inside very quick. But 2 of the hollow slave guys with the thrall axes spawn right here. I throw an alluring skull to get some of the pressure off me, and I take them out. Do not mess with those guys. Seriously. Use an alluring skull if you need to, but make sure that they go down. As I grab the last undead bone shard in the game. And we move out here to meet the gang squad. The NPC gang squad. Who we are not going to mess with. We are going to run past them. Because there's no honor in ganks, and we don't have time to waste on them. They don't drop us any items that we can use anyway. So I'm going to come back down here. I'm going to hit the bonfire to reset the world. So we're going to be moving back up through the elevator here. Pushing up here onto this rooftop. And you may be surprised here, but I am going to actually face off against these 3 winged knights here. I was actually feeling really confident in myself at this time, which is one of those things that can either be a blessing or it can be a curse, depending on how things go. If I would have died here, I would have been pretty upset with myself, but I opted to fight them. So this is the result you get to see. These guys are pretty easy to manipulate. If you just keep moving behind them and don't get greedy with your swings, you can continuously backstab them with good placement. And you don't even have to be that good to do it. Just a little bit of knowledge. So this guy, he likes to do that move where he throws the axes. I get in a pretty bad spot here where I pin him against the wall. He's going to turn around. He's going to try to do a couple of swings. And I'm just going to move away from all that stuff. He does his overhead move, which is really easy to dodge if you just run into him. So I'm going to do that and put another backstab on him. Right here, he stands up, and we get another backstab. And that does it. Good night, sweet prince. So outside here, I'm going to be picking up the last Estus shard of the game. And that will give you all of your Estus and all of your undead bone for maximum recovery should you need it. I did want to include all of the Estus shards in this playthrough just to give players the opportunity to have those things. in this kind of a run. So again, he does the overhead move there. It's pretty easy to just run towards and then roll through. He'll go over your head and miss you every time. So move around to his backside again. I try to do a backstab there. It doesn't work. But a couple of dodges, move through him again. Another opportunity to backstab. Boom, right there. And right now he's almost dead. I'm just spamming R1 to get him dead. And there's our slab that we can use for our Sellsword Twin Blades. So at this point I'm feeling great. I'm like, yeah, things are going good. And that's how things go, you know. The better you play, the more confidence you get. And that can be a good thing, you know. Some people say, well, you know, too much confidence is a bad thing. Well, you know, I kind of disagree with that. I think that confidence in controlled quantities can be your best friend on a run like this, where you start with nothing and you overcome everything. And the more powerful your character comes, the more confident you become. As I throw another skull here to give myself a little bit of an opportunity to get past this gaggle of enemies here. Firing crossbows, every weapon imaginable, all the aggro in the world as that guy tries to spear me, which would have been really bad. I run past this guy. This guy tries to do his buff, and this guy does that, ooh, that terrible lunge move, which probably could have nearly killed me if it would have hit me, but a well-timed roll and I get past it. So activating this shortcut here is going to give us easy access to Lothric when we come back. But we have another stop to make before we do that. So I'm going to go ahead and drop off the Estus Shard here. And the Bone Shard. And I'm going to be taking on everybody's favorite boss in the game. The Ancient Wyvern, right? No. I can't stand this guy. I don't think anybody likes him. I don't know anybody. I've never seen him on any polls for favorite Dark Souls 3 boss, let's just put it that way. This boss is a nightmare. And everybody knows why. It's that ladder and that axe dragon man. And you really don't need to say anything else. If you have any experience with the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Trying to climb that ladder while that axe man is throwing that chain at you can end your entire run, especially if you're a speedrunner. So we're going to mitigate all of that. I have a fantastic strategy for dealing with this boss, where there's really no threat of any danger. And you may be thinking, well, that sounds great. You know, I can't stand that boss either. Disclaimer. This strategy is a little finicky. There is a certain touch required to do it and a feeling for the boss that I cannot necessarily describe to you. I can show you what it looks like, and you can use it as a reference point. But you are going to have to cut your teeth and attempt this, and you're probably not going to get it on the first try. If you get it on the first try, hey, great, awesome, I'm glad that it worked for you. But I don't want anybody to watch this and think, well, gosh, he did it on the first try. It was the easiest thing in the world for him. Guys, I promise you, I cut my teeth doing this. I struggled doing this. And this is the result of practice at me doing this. And even by practicing, I can't tell you that I can do this on the first try. Consistently. You know? But anyway, here's the strategy. You're going to want to move to this shrub here. When the dragon turns, move to this shrub here. He's going to turn his head. When he turns his head, run and get to right here. Do a jumping attack. And boom, just like that. Dead. Good night, Wyvern. So you may be thinking, well, what if it doesn't work? What if I mess it up? It's okay. Don't worry. All you need to do is move back to that shrub and wait for him to do the attack again. Make sure that you have a decent amount of distance from him so that he doesn't do the bite attack. If he does the bite attack, you just need to roll through it and just wait. You want to wait for the flame breath. He has two variations on the flame breath. He has the sweeping horizontal flame breath, which you can do the move on, but it's a little bit more challenging because the timing isn't quite as easy. And the vertical one, which you're going to want to make sure that he's in that good position with his head just slightly tilted to the left. You don't want him to be too far to the middle, otherwise your jump attack won't be able to reach it. So you just want to make sure that he's in that good position. And there's videos on YouTube of people explaining how to do this. Look them up. They'll give you a good detailed explanation. That's how I was able to do it. But that was it working in its purest form of me getting it on the first attempt. But just know that if you don't get it first attempt, not all is lost. You can still recover and do it. As it sounds like one of my neighbor's dogs is going nuts outside. So pushing past that wyvern there, you're going to want to make sure that you kind of brace yourself for this next area, because it, to me, guys, in this game, I've not seen anything that is just so much of a... Oh gosh, I nearly died there. Not so much of a just absolutely overwhelming moment as this moment when you have to grab these ashes here. I could not figure out how to do this without doing a save quit. So I'm going to tell you, if you want to do this without dying, do a save quit. Run this path here. This guy is going to sometimes swing at you, sometimes not. This big guy is going to come after you with his axe. This thing's going to roll at you, dodge through it, and then do a save quit here. When you respawn, this thing's going to turn around. It can do any one of its attacks at this point, guys, so be careful that it doesn't push you off. Grab the ashes and run. Grab the ashes, run, back to the bonfire, sit at the bonfire. And back to Firelink. So now we have everything that we need. Are you guys ready? To ascend to soul level 1 godhood. So there you go. Give the lady your ashes. Buy up all the shards that you need and all the chunks that you need to get your weapon up to +10. And then we're going to let Andre do his thing. We're going to remember that sharp gem that we picked up early in the game. We're going to use that to make them sharp. And the reason you make them sharp, guys, even at the low dexterity that you're going to have with the Karthus ring and the Hunter's ring that you picked up in Lothric Castle, it's still going to be better than raw. So do not infuse those sellsword blades raw, guys. Make sure you do sharp if you're going this route. So now that we have our +10 sellsword blades, we have everything that we need to take on the last portion of this game. As I'm, again, looking at my armor, I don't know why why I get into these little fixes with my armor. Just get on with it. There we go. So here we go. Ring the bell. Pop our grass. paint our sword yellow. And let's go slay a dragon. So here's the Wyvern. You're going to see the absolute worst, the worst of my ability in this fight here at the beginning. I dodged this. Guys, if you get a chance here, you really should just reapply your buff here because it's just a good opportunity. It gives you a little bit of extra few seconds on the buff. Try to hit the nose as much as possible, guys. That's how you get the stun, as I take a massive hit here. That hit can kill you. I don't know what happened to save me, but it happened, so we're just going to roll with it. I move behind him, and I take this opportunity on the Fire Breath to get as many hits as I can. Move away, and I'm waiting for his next attack. He does the slam, boom, I dodge. I try to move back in, I get a hit on the nose, it gets a stun. So now, we riposte, and he's one hit. So I move in, I get the hit, and I apply my charcoal resin. Because the Nameless King is weak to fire. So boom, dodge this. 2 hits, dodge, dodge. Guys, just be very, very tentative here with your hits. You do not want to get hit by any of his attacks. Take that opportunity, another hit, boom, he does the slam, that's an opportunity for another hit, another 2 hits. He does that hit, he does the thrust, I get an opportunity for 2 hits. Another hit because he's strafing for some reason, roll, roll. Another opportunity for a hit, he moves away. I run into him, I get another hit, I get a stun. And normally you only see the stuns with the blunt weapons, but with these, oh yeah. So we're going to take an opportunity to rebuff, get another couple of hits, walk behind him when he does that charge move. He does this charge move, look at this guys, turn around, take the camera off of him, the lightning will miss you. Turn back around, get another hit, a dodge, another dodge, another dodge, and a hit. And he tries to slam, but I dodge through it. Hit, dodge, roll away from the foot stomp. Just roll away from the foot stomp, guys. Again, he tries to do the lightning stake. Just walk around him. I get another stun, 3 hits, into riposte, and goodbye, Nameless King. And it looked great, didn't it? That guy can mess you up quick, guys, if you take a hit from him. And I survived a really, really sloppy hit in the first phase of that fight. But it worked out. We're still here. So back to Firelink. I believe I came back because I needed some more resins. I forgot to buy them. So yeah, we're going to replenish our resins here. And our bundles. And I'm going to be showing you my strategy here against Lorien and Lothric, who is a boss that I have more trouble with than I care to admit. Sometimes I go down here and I beat them flawlessly and I don't take a lick of damage and it looks really great. And sometimes I just get whapped in the first 10 seconds and there doesn't seem to be any reasoning or any difference. I'm the same player. You know, it's one of those anomalies. Sometimes your ability's there and sometimes it's like you're playing with 2 left hands. I mean, it's like you're playing with your feet. But make sure that if you're not like me and you're not going for a no-death run, make sure that you send the elevator back down to the ground level so you don't have to keep calling it back up, and that you don't accidentally take the elevator going down to where the Titanite slab is instead, which is really annoying, especially after you just died to a boss and you're frustrated and you just want to get back to the fight. So just make sure that you do that. I'm going to pop a grass here, paint our sword, and here we go, Lorien. So what you want to do, what I like to do, dodge to the left when he reappears. He has 2 different variations on his attack, usually when he teleports. One is a sweep, and one is a downward slam. And the timings are different, but if you roll to the left, it seems that usually works at dodging the first attack, in my experience. And what you're going to want to do is just stick to this guy's back. Stick to his back, dodge his attacks. In between his attacks, get 1 hit. 1 hit. Don't get greedy, don't go for 2, just 1 hit. Boom. He'll do that. Boom. I get a stun, and that's an opportunity to get a couple extra hits. And now he's at low life, so what you're going to want to do here, dodge this attack, guys. It's a one-hit kill. Is you're just going to wait for him to get close to the door. And I'm going to show you why that is as soon as he does it, if he ever decides he's ready. You just want it, and right there, that's close enough. So I move to the door. Now Lothric's going to join him. He's going to summon his magic. All you got to do is roll back and forth in front of the door as you hear the magic coming. It's pretty easy to do. I'm going to pop a green blossom. And I'm going to paint the sword again. And right here, dodge these attacks. When he gets in close to you, he will continue to do this attack. So all you have to do is roll twice and do a rolling attack, L1. Rolling L1. 2 dodges, rolling L1. 2 dodges, rolling L1. Repeat ad nauseum. And you've won. It's that easy. So if you've ever struggled with this boss, guys, fear not. I have the strategy for you. And some people may look at this and think, oh, this is embarrassing, or, you didn't honor fight the boss. But guys, when you're on soul level 1 and you just want to get it done, just get it done however you can. You know what I mean? There's certainly nothing wrong with honor fighting him if that's what you'd like to do, but for my purposes, I'm happy with just dispatching him. So alright, so we've made it to the end of the game. We're going to place our ashes of the lords. And we're going to move to face the Soul of Cinder. I tried to do that. I tried to do that speedrunner where you drop the ashes and then fall off the edge there. It didn't work. So here we go. Pushing into the next area. Arriving at a familiar location. In a different place. That I'm sure a lore video can explain more eloquently than I can. And here we are, guys. The kiln of the first flame. You know, this area kind of reminds me of the kiln from Dark Souls 1, but in an alternate take. So in the first game, if you remember, you go down the steps. To me, it seems almost like you went the reverse way in this game, but I don't know that there's any significance to that. It just seems that way. But here's the Soul of Cinder. Guys, this guy is very dangerous. He has tons of movesets. I can't necessarily describe everything that this guy can do, but I can tell you what not to do against him. So what you want to do, in my opinion, against the Greatsword variant of this guy is to really just be kind of tentative, more so than maybe I am, until I take a couple of these big hits and I get a little scared. But just continue to roll to your right on him. That seems to be the best opportunity to hit him as he moves into the mage phase, and this is the phase where you really want to load up on damage on him, guys. Take all the chances that you can to hit him. Every time you get close to him, and he does that Farron, not Farron, what is that move? That, I can't think of it, but it's the one where it's like the little soul masses. Can't think of the name, but Just continue to dodge behind him as he does the spells and hit him. That's the best thing you can do. As you saw me do, I got a stun on him and we were able to end the first phase really easily as he moves into the Gwyn phase now. He always starts with this jump move, get an opportunity to get an attack or two, and then run backwards, get away from this attack, stay away from it. He will always do this after the jump. After he does this, move in. His moves here are very pronounced. They have a slow startup and a fast swing speed. So if you get hit, you have a pretty good opportunity to just roll backwards and get a heal. If he does his lightning throw, roll in, get an attack. When he does the swings, continue to roll to your right. That's kind of the blind spot where it's a good opportunity to get hits. Roll through it. Right here, we get a stun, and I get 2 free hits. And he goes into his attack again. When you dodge this attack, if you're in range and you're scared that you're going to get caught in it, I like to roll backwards and to my right. Don't roll straight back. I find that I get caught when I do that. So here he's going to do his lightning move where he goes up, so I use all of my stamina, and then all I have to do is roll backwards here, and I dodge it. Not that threatening of a move as long as you're mobile. And right here he tries the lightning again. I roll in, and I finish him off. And that's it, guys. You've done it. If you followed this guide, you've completed all the bosses. So here we go. Link the First Flame. Ascend to New Game Plus. So if you've made it all the way with me, if you've listened to my rambling for the past 2 hours, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. And I'll see you next time.